Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Cassie and this is That Grim Reader. In today's video we're going to be discussing my most disappointing books of 2023. Now these aren't necessarily bad books, they're just books that I thought I was going to love, adore, give 5 stars, and then they just fell short of the mark. Firstly we have Salt Slow by Julia Armfield. This one pained me because I loved Our Wives Under the Sea so much. It was one of my favourite books of last year, gave it 5 stars. I thought this was going to be similar, but just bite-sized little nuggets. Did enjoy the first story, but only because I didn't read the title of it, which gives away what is happening in the story, which seems dumb to me. In that one, a girl, her body starts changing and she doesn't know why, and then big reveal. But again, the title of the story literally tells you what's happening. The other ones, yeah, some were good. Well, some were okay, some were bad. Nothing even came close to how I felt about Our Wives Under the Sea. So, yeah, it's not a bad collection, just not particularly great or memorable one either. A lot of people do seem to like it more than I do though, so maybe give it a little shot if you fancy. Then we have Ring Shout by Djeli Clarke. This is another one, wasn't bad at all, was interesting. So this is sort of a historical fantasy-ish book set in 1915, and there are monsters called Ku Kluxes. They are out to obviously mess things up for all the black people. So they're out there fighting against these monsters, and I don't know if it's because of the aphantasia where I can't see things in my head, but I really struggled to, like, obviously members of the Ku Klux Klan are literal, figurative, they're monsters, obviously, it goes without saying. I wanted to be able to see the imagery of these, like, physically monstrous creatures, and I couldn't. So that detracted from my enjoyment. I wanted to love this so much. I feel like everyone that's read this book loves it, and it sounded like a weird, fun fantasy horror thing. I strongly recommend you try it if it sounds interesting to you, because, as I said, most people seem to love this, and I wanted to love it, and I'm really sad that I didn't. Then we have The Pallbearers Club by Tremblay. This one is about a guy whose name I also can't remember, who dies and leaves a memoir about his friend Mercy. Remember her name? Oh, Art. The main guy was called Art, I think. And he writes this memoir about his friend Mercy, who he thinks may have been a vampire. And I really enjoyed the format of this because in the book, Mercy had found the manuscript and she's annotating it, going, excuse me, that's not how that happened, or other funny little bits interjected here and there, and also she'd write like big paragraphs at the end of each chapter, and it was just, that was really interesting. But the plot itself I found a bit boring. We follow Art, Mercy, and sort of a couple of other people who make up the Pallbearers Club, which is a group of kids who go to funerals to be pallbearers for people who don't have any family or friends or anyone to be their pallbearers, or they just sit in the audience, pews, whatever. They attend funerals for people who have no one else to attend, which, again, really fascinating idea. I loved it as a concept. And I loved Mercy as a character. She was so good, but I don't know, the book just... Art Barbara, that was his name. I don't know, I just didn't like him. I was sort of reading from his perspective. So it kind of tainted the book a little bit. I still gave it like 3.5 stars or something. It was good. I thought it was going to be spectacular, mind-blowing, all-time favourite book, and it just wasn't. Then another one that I obviously wanted to love, that's the point of all of these, is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone and Amal Mohtar. This is a little sci-fi novella, which is also a sapphic love story. Sounds great. Not generally big into sci-fi, but yeah, it's about two rival time-traveling agents that are each working for a company who's trying to change the past or change the future. They're trying to go back in time, change things to make the future fit how they want it to. And they start sending each other letters and they fall in love. That's not a spoiler, I hope. That's like the whole point of the book, but I don't know, it felt a little bit pretentious, but I think it was just over my head. I think I just don't have the capacity to understand what was even happening. Did also listen to it as an audiobook, which might have, sometimes I struggle with more complicated books if I'm listening to it as an audiobook. It doesn't always go in, so that could be the reason, but I just didn't have the drive to give it another shot physically. But yeah, I feel like I'm the only person who didn't love that book too. Everyone on BookTube and Bookstagram just seemed to adore it, and I wanted to be part of the gang and love it too, but sadly that was not the case. Then the next one is We Had to Remove This Post by Hanna Bervoets. In this we follow a woman who works as like a moderator for a video uploading site, possibly actually YouTube or something else. Anyway, she has to watch all these horrific videos and decide whether they break the terms of the website or whether they can be uploaded or not. And she sees something super brutal, and it's just about her life, really. I went into it thinking it was more going to be about the actual stuff she was seeing, which is what I wanted to know. It was really frustrating reading it and not really getting that side of things. But I think this was one of those situations where I went into it with the wrong expectations, and that kind of ruined my experience. It was fine. I didn't dislike it, but I've seen some people enjoy this one and some people really hate it, so I just felt kind of in the middle. It was fine, but I thought it was going to be 5 stars. I think it was in my 5-star predictions, and I think it was in my 23 in 2023, maybe. I will try and link all the videos I've mentioned in the description or in the cards or something somewhere, maybe. Or just go have a look if you like. Next is The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Nghi. This was an attempt to find another novella series that I could love as much as I love The Wayward Children, but I think it was too much on the fantasy side of things. The folklore and stuff just was a bit much for my poor little mind-blind brain that I've got. I didn't dislike it. Hang on. We followed Nghi, who is a cleric going around writing down stories of different people's experiences, I think. Yeah, so we followed Nghi, who is talking to this Empress, who is telling her story about her life, basically. And I just don't remember very much about it. I think I'm going to give the next one in the series a go to see if, because the Nghi side of things I quite liked. I think it was just the Empress's story that didn't interest me very much, so maybe it's one of those where the second book is better. But I know most everyone adores it from the first book, so I don't know. And then another attempt to love a novella is A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. This one was described to me as a cozy sci-fi, and I'd been starting to enjoy some cozy fantasy earlier in the year, so I was like, I'll pick that up, I'll give it a go. We follow a tea monk called Dex, and they live in a world where robots just went off to live in the woods. They didn't want to be associated with humanity anymore. Dex bumps into a robot called Mosscap in the woods, and Mosscap wants to find out what humanity needs, and they travel together and try and find the answer to that question. It was cute, it was fine. It was a bit surface level. It wasn't bad. I thought I was going to adore it, and it was only okay. Did read the second one and enjoy that a little bit more, but loads of other people seem to love this. It's quite philosophical, quite philosophical, but kind of, again, surface level. But it was fine. Then, this one's very egregious. The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. I had really enjoyed every other Grady Hendrix I'd read up to this point, and this one was just so boring. I don't understand the point of it. We were following a group of final girls, which are girls who survived like a mass killing spree, and they all go to a support group and befriend each other, support each other. It's a support group, obviously, and one of them maybe gets killed. Don't even remember anymore. It was dumb. I don't recommend this. As if you haven't read a Grady Hendrix before, don't start with this one, because it will probably put you off him. And no, his other books are fun. This one was just Again, it wasn't bad. It was like 3 stars. It was fine, but it was supposed to be excellent. I was supposed to love it. How dare you write this, Grady? What were you thinking? Then we have Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. I don't know why I tried another sci-fi. It clearly hadn't been working for me, but this is another where the hype got to me. Everyone else was loving it. In this, we follow a group of travelling performers who are going around performing Shakespeare, I think, to just the random little nuggets of community that are left after a pandemic has basically wiped out most of the world. And didn't get the point, didn't care about the characters, didn't care about the world, didn't care about the plays. It was fine, it wasn't bad. I just don't know if it's one that you'd enjoy more if you do like, but it didn't even feel sci-fi. It was more like post-apocalyptic kind of sci-fi, which I'm okay with. So, alright. It's another one that was just very nothingy to me. Makes me sad. And finally, one of the ones that, apart from the Grady Hendrix, this is the one that makes me the most sad that I didn't like it. It is In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. This is kind of a Pinocchio retelling with robots, and I'd absolutely adored House in the Cerulean Sea and Under the Whispering Door, so I was so eager to pick this up. I read it basically as soon as it came out. The fact it was a Pinocchio retelling did put me off a little bit, but yeah, it wasn't bad. Yeah. So we follow, it's kind of like reverse Pinocchio. We follow Victor, who was a human boy adopted by a robot dad who takes care of him in the woods. He has a couple of other robot friends, Nurse Ratchet and whatever the other one's called. Can't remember what the little Roomba one's called, but yeah, Nurse Ratchet is like a sarcastic, just, she was my favourite character. But yeah, one day Victor finds a android robot something in a salvage yard and takes him home and tries to fix him up, and then Victor's adopted dad, Geo, gets kidnapped by someone, and they all have to go on a quest to save him. The first half of the book was just Victor living his life, hanging out with the robots, finding this new robot android guy and fixing him up. I loved that part, that was great. The whole quest, going to rescue Geo, I couldn't have cared less. It was absolutely boring, pointless, repetitive. It did nothing for me. Did like the characters, it was just the plot that let me down. I gave it like 3.5 stars. It wasn't bad, but I thought it was going to be another 4.5, 5-star read like the previous TJ Klune books I read. And it wasn't, which basically sucks. So that has been a lot of negativity for one video. Let me know what you think to any of these books, or if you have anything sort of similar to these but better. It could be like a nice little more positive spin on things. Then do let me know. Thanks as always for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.